Welcome to In the Know with Steph and Joe. We're going live in 20 seconds. Welcome to In the Know with Steph and Joe. In the Know with Steph and Joe is all about small business development. These two entrepreneurs bring real life experience, laughter, and just a ton of knowledge on how to build your small business and make it thrive. This is your creation. Now learn how to make it sing. In the Know with Steph and Joe, brought to you through the financial support of our good friends over at Restoration One and also Steph's Bookkeeping. And let us not forget the awesome people over at Media Inc. epicmediainc.com. I didn't have it pulled up, Jess. Sorry. epicmediainc.com because they're awesome. And we'll give them the read here in a minute. Today, what do we got? We got misconceptions of industries or something. And I don't know. Today has just been a long day for Kent. Hey, welcome in, everybody.
All right. So, as everybody could see, we're without Joe again.
I
And
like how she says again.
well, last week he wasn't here either. He's off.
Yeah, in the know with Steph
gallivanting.
and Joe.
Who's Joe?
Joe.
No.
That's how you should change it to Stephen Joe.
So I have two co-hosts today. So we got Don Bremer with the Bremer team of Keller Williams Success.
Good job. Thank you.
Yeah,
That was a good
I-
save.
I
Good
had to
save.
think about it for a
You did.
second. And we have Jody. What is your
J. Van Leer Designs. Yeah. Yay.
What does that say?
Yay, Don Bremer, the show just got way.
Oh, I love you,
Eric is our weekly heckler. So
At least he watches your show.
oh,
Sorry, I love you, Eric.
Well, Eric, so we're talking about industry misconceptions. So if you have any in your IT world, please feel free to share as the show goes on. So, all right. So we were kind of talking in the green room, and I feel like we were talking about HGTV and how, I guess, well, Kent with him doing mortgages and you doing design and Don being in real estate, that you guys all kind of have people comparing your services to what they see on TV and how that kind of impacts. Or are you doing just as Reed now, or?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. So Jody, why don't you give us a story of a client that had an example, like they came to you and they're like, I want you to do this, and your timeline is 45 minutes because I watched them do it on the show in that time.
I feel like that's almost every time. As far as like people coming and saying, hey, budget's always off. Because they give numbers in different areas across the country when you're watching those shows, and people don't necessarily take that into consideration. I think the other is time frame, because whenever you're watching those shows, like it's always done in like 3 weeks, a month. And even if there's a mistake, like the mistake's fixed in like 2 days, which is obviously not happening. And especially right now in the pandemic, like things are taking 3 times longer than they did at a normal pace, let alone if there's something wrong. So when timelines are out 36 weeks, like people think that I'm making it up, except that I'm not. And so, and then if you have a mistake, they don't take off of that. It's still another 36 weeks to fix it, but on the shows, they went in, they had a mistake, and a week later it's fixed. And so that is not obviously very realistic, because we're having so many logistic problems and everything right now. And I literally had a client that just called and was like, hey, can you redo my whole kitchen? And can you do it by the end of March? And I was
Uh-huh.
like, ha, maybe the end of this year.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that plays a lot into the misconceptions of how I do what I do.
So the timelines and the costs are a big thing for you. It
Yeah.
looks like Derek Hartman agrees that he loves HGTV, but it gives his wife far too many ideas that aren't feasible or cost effective.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Hi, Mom.
Hey, Mom.
Hi, Mom. I love you.
So, Dawn, what are some things that you kind of run into? Like, if I was gonna be like,
Oh, I can tell you honestly, one of the best things is people watch Selling Sunset or Selling
Yeah.
Tampa, and they want us to come in and do one of those evening open houses with champagne and catering. And,
Right.
you're going to come in and have 55 people of your friends. It's not $1 million listing. That's not how it happens. Those people have a budget that they charge the client for. People
Yep.
don't realize that. And Selling Sunset, they say we need an advertising budget and they make you prepay that. People do not get that. So that's a huge misconception for realtors.
so if I wanted to have a huge party at my house when you sell it,
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to pay you to throw a party?
No, what they're doing is that in the Selling Sunset shows, they have an open house. So they'll do like a broker open or something. And they have champagne and music and all these things for an
Right.
open house.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yes, you've seen that.
Yeah.
No, the person who is selling the house gives them that budget, and then it's taken out of their commission when they sell it. So it's not like I am paying $50,000 to have this huge ginormous party, and then if you cancel my listing, I'm out $50,000. That's a misconception that people don't get.
Right.
Right.
So you pay the $50,000, and then you take it out of my commission when I sell it. That's what they do.
Interesting.
Oh.
See, misconception.
Okay, so we're learning
That
all sorts of
is.
stuff today.
Mhm.
Right, so what about you, Kent? What happens in the mortgage space?
In the mortgage space, it's this. You have far better credit. You have far more money to put down on the deal, and you make much more money than I do. So you get a really good rate.
Yeah.
I don't have much money to put down, nor do I have as good a paying job as you, and my credit's kind of crappy. And I don't and we talked over the fence in the backyard or at coffee, and you're like, oh man, I just closed on a house and I got a 2.1 percent deal. My rate's 2.1. And then I go and talk with the mortgage people, and I'm like, what do you mean it's 4.5? I just talked to Stephanie. We live in the same neighborhood. She
Mhm.
got 2.1,
Yeah.
So the misconception is that everything is equal to everybody. And it doesn't, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen.
I would say also another misconception for loan officers, which is huge, is that people don't realize that just because you got approved for the mortgage doesn't mean that you shouldn't buy stuff on credit.
Yeah,
Like, make sure we stress that.
that's right.
Don't buy anything on credit because you didn't get approved until you're closed.
That's right.
Right.
A deal can get ruined by going out and even,
Buying
but
a new car.
yeah,
Or furniture.
or
This
furniture.
is what
Furniture.
we just literally had a deal
Yeah.
that just happened
Mhm.
recently. I think it was a few months ago, they were going to close, and then they always do their final pull towards the end of the thing
Yep.
right before closing, and they
Mhm.
had bought all new living room furniture from
Oh, but it's same as
whatever.
cash. I don't,
Right,
I'm
but
not
it's
making
paying
a
for cash. I'm not paying
Yeah.
for 12
No,
months.
you
But they
just
pulled your
But they
credit
pulled your
again.
credit.
Yeah.
So now you
That's right.
you have no.
Yeah.
So they had to cancel the order.
Mhm.
They had to wait for that
Yeah.
credit to come off, which
Yeah.
could take how many days?
Yeah, it could take 10
So, like-
depending on who you're working with.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
10
you got to
plus
go
days.
with reputable loan officers over there who know what they're doing.
Yeah, when Rich and I bought our house, we had to pay off our meat.
Your meat.
Yeah, so like we would buy like 6 months worth of meat at a time, and then they would finance it 0% interest for 5 payments or whatever.
I didn't know you could finance a cow.
Yeah.
I know. I was like,
That's
you
so-
meat?
fantastic.
So then the loan officer, the loan officer was like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's just our meat." And she like,
So
what?
right.
So we had to like pay
Have you
that
seen that
off.
one, guys? Has anybody had meat financed it with you?
Rich does have
It's
nice
in the
meat.
basement.
but-
Hanging off
Rich
the
does have a
ceiling.
good set of balls,
yeah.
like meats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had to
You should
we
try
had
his
to,
pork.
we had to pay it off. And
His pork is delicious. Sorry, Linda, but he does have good pork.
Smoked.
Smoked?
It's smoked. Yeah. I like his
Wait,
smoked
before
butt.
we forget, we have to try these.
oh yeah, we'll try
Okay,
this
I know
inside.
what they
so
are.
Eric says Eric's in IT. In case anybody doesn't know who Eric is, but I feel like everybody does. My customers often assume that since I work in IT that I know how every application works. Often I am learning it on the fly.
Yeah,
I think he's talking about me. Why do I feel like that was directed at me since I ask you all those questions?
Yeah,
There's that too. There's
Mhm.
a lot of you're supposed to know like everything about
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah.
That is true.
That is IT apprentices here what he's of age.
Yes. Hey, back off. I
He
have
is
a,
hiring.
I have a, he is, but he's getting my IT apprentice. So let's
Oh,
back off.
okay.
Sam's already on it. I already sent him his resume, Eric.
So speaking of that, so I'm assuming like as trends come out with interior design
Mhm.
and everybody, I don't know what was the recent thing, like all the gray tones and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Or if there's like a really wild one, like I don't know, blue carpet or something, how do you approach that with a client when you're helping them design their space?
Yeah, I mean that's another thing. I'm personally for how I represent like dealing with clients, I'm always looking for the house to represent them, not me or a trend. And so yes, those trends are out there and I'm aware of them and you see them and we can talk about them, but I'm also looking at long-term longevity. My first question is always like, how long are you going to be in this house? If you're going to be in the house 5-6 years, that's one story. If this is your forever home, that's another story. So there's been a huge trend of like wallpapering the ceiling in your dining room, right? Okay. It's a huge thing. Or painting the entire room the same color, wall to ceiling, all of it. Because it evokes this different feel, this sense of envelopment, treating the ceiling as another platform, the floor, the walls, the ceiling, all as another. So it's a thing. It can look really good, right? But I am never going to suggest it to somebody unless that's your forever home. Because when you have to take it down, that's on you, right?
Yeah.
Versus like if you're going to sell in 5 years, I would never suggest that because you're going to have to take it down before you sell or you're going to get knocked because it looks awful and nobody else wants to take it down. So they're going to ask for 10,000 off because, you have this ugly wallpaper on your ceiling. So I do follow the trends, but I don't necessarily they're not for everyone. And I'm very open on that as far as colors and trends. If you like blue, go with blue, even if blue's not in, because guess what? In like 6 years, it's going to be back.
Right.
So,
It is true.
it cycles around. Oh, it's in, it's out. Flowers are in, flowers are out. Paisleys in, paisleys out. Like this spring, flowers are coming back in. They're coming back in a different form than they were back in the 80s, 90s, but they're still back. And so,
You know that even, let's be honest, even blue counters in your bathroom, those old blue counters from like the 70s,
the
those are
pink
back
toilets,
in. The pink toilets,
like,
that's back in.
it's called vintage.
Yeah.
The
Mid-century.
clam-
I love
the clam
mid-century.
sink.
the clam
The clam sink
the
is
clam
back
sink.
in.
I mean,
Really?
all those
Yes.
things. And I think depending on this type of house and how retro or boho or whatever term you want to use, because those are all made up too, just so you know. Like we just make them up. If you go on an interior design forum and you show a picture of something, you'll get 10 different answers of what that actual image is of. Like if you're like, list this picture, you get like 10 different images from 10 different designers because we make them up. They're just
That's
made up.
great.
You
Isn't
can
that
just
cool?
rattle them all together and that's what you are.
So it's like when someone says like bohemian chic versus modern chic,
industrial
versus,
farmhouse modern, like it's all like
just
whatever.
words thrown together.
It's just
Okay.
words together.
Well, I guess that's good to know.
I mean, there are some rules and some things that create that look, but honestly, it's just because you decided to throw in all of these different elements together. If you balance it out, it can look really good. And then there's the eclectic, which is just everybody just threw the pot of whatever you had in your house into the space.
I'm a lot of eclectic.
So I think that's a misconception too, that like, oh, well, you're this or you're this or you're this. And so I have clients coming to me saying, I can't design my house because I don't know what I am.
Yeah.
I'm not here to tell you what you like. I'm here to help you get where you want to go, which is you telling me, not the other way around. So people think I'm going to come in and be like, oh, well, you're modern. This is what you should do. This is all the things you should put in your space.
Do you
that's
do you
not how I
strongly
do it.
suggest themes for each room?
No, I do not.
Got a country
Unless
theme
it's your
here.
kids' room.
We got
Unless
a
it's your kids'
Victorian
room.
theme here. We
Yeah.
got a
No, I think themes can be fun in certain spaces. Like if it's in your basement and you want to have like a pool theme, like you have a pool table, you want to do that. Cool. If your kids are little and they are into something and you want to do their kids' room and you want a theme,
yeah,
okay.
The unicorn's always good.
Sure. Unicorns and pink polka dots.
They actually help sell houses, just so you know. A unicorn room really sells to other
and
kids.
the little girls.
The girls are like, I want
the
this
girls
house.
are like, I love this house. Yeah.
That's right.
I think for kids' spaces, it's good. You don't want to go overboard.
Right.
You don't want to go like I literally had the best story ever. So some of you may remember the house that I tried to sell, that I did sell, but for a while the medieval one. Do you remember
I
that
do.
with the brick basement or the whatever it was? It looked like a medieval times.
Right.
The whole basement.
Nice.
Yeah, dungeon.
It was a dungeon. It was completely. But then they had they had gone someplace and been to a chapel where they had cherub angels in the ceiling. So they hired a painter from Europe. They flew him in and had naked cherubs in their bathroom ceiling. And then in their dining room, they had a tray ceiling. And then they had the, the Last Supper on their ceiling.
Oh, my goodness.
Hand painted. And they were like, I said, maybe you might want to paint over that. Like, I'm not saying it, but maybe. Nope, they wouldn't paint over it. They wouldn't paint over it.
Eric says, pretty sure Steph still sleeps in a race car bed.
Does
Does that help sell a home?
He's just jealous that I could still fit in a race car bed. And for your information, I prefer the pirate ship.
That's
there it is.
hilarious. God, I love Eric.
So if somebody wants to hire you, how do they get in touch with you?
I'm on almost all of social media: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of those. I have a website. It's simple, jvanleerdesigns.com. I kept it as simple as possible.
Right.
For across all of those. And then I usually start all of my work with all my clients with a consult so that we can discuss the project and have a better scope of stuff. But
do you charge for consults?
I do. That's another thing. A lot of people, we go with the big box stores or go in and someone else looking for a kitchen remodel or a bathroom remodel. And you go into these big box stores and they're like, oh, well, yeah, we'll come to your house for free, which is great because you're actually paying for it with product and you're paying for it in other ways. So they're charging you. You just are getting charged at the back end. I obviously don't charge over at the back end. There's no back end. So I'm in the front. The charge is in the front.
Thank God you stopped talking. You just got to change the wording that you have for a minute. Look at luckily he was drinking. Moving on.
So
Look at him.
I'll go back and listen to that in private.
we have a question.
Yeah. I'll read it. Derek says, a discussion I've had with many realtors is that people believe they pocket the whole commission when selling a house in disregard for costs and expenses. Does Dawn deal with that?
Yes, all the time. I will tell you that it's people are always like, can you, when you're listing the house, can you take a smaller commission? Can you take a lower commission?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, right now houses are selling so quickly, you should take a lower commission. My expenses don't change. When you say a typical, let's say a typical commission is 5%, 2.5% goes to the buyer's agent representing the buyer, whose job is very hard right now. Yeah. But they also have to go show 12 billion homes, write 17 million offers until they get that house. And on my end, I still have to pay for the photos and the advertising and the sign and all of that stuff. No, that comes out of my 2.5. So while the buyer's agent's getting 2.5, by the time I'm done with my expenses and advertising, I could be at like 1.5%. Yeah. So that is a huge misconception.
And plus, you got to pay your team out.
Well, not as a listing, but in the buy side, yes. Then my team has splits, and then those agents, just so you know, are, unless they own their own brokerages, they have to pay the managing broker a percentage of their commission. And then if you get a referral from another listing agent, let's say whatever your name is, Steph. So Steph's parents live in Arizona, and they want to sell their house. I give them a referral for somebody in Arizona who's charging them 5%. That person has to pay the expenses. That person has to pay their brokerage, and then that person has to give me a percentage of that as a referral. So it's hard to be a listing agent. It's a big misconception. Great question.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you take a look at like Glassdoor or something like that,
Mhm.
a realtor in our area, the average is what, 60,000 maybe. It's not a ton. They're not
Right.
making millions.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mary Shep, good afternoon. And the cost to be an insured business is not free to own a business.
That is
Oh,
true.
that's
That's
true.
true.
That's true. Mary
Yeah.
Shep, what do you go ahead?
Oh, yes. Mary delivered these delicious
Hold on. I'll tell you what they are. Except
muffins.
Crumb
Wait.
muffin cake things.
she says
Looks
that
like there's
they're
oats in here.
apple cake, but as a muffin, like a mini Irish apple cake for St. Patrick's Day.
Oh.
So,
so fancy. You
Eddie,
wanna try one?
Eddie,
They're
come
gonna
have
be
one.
low
Here.
sodium.
Sodium.
Go ahead,
Yes,
grab one.
Mary does everything low sodium. She has
Yes.
a whole show about it too. Yeah.
Eddie, come get one. Thank you, Mary Shep.
Thanks, Mary. Love a good
And
snack.
of course, that's our lovely
Take one to your
assistant,
son.
Eduardo
And what about Ken?
Martinez.
What about Kent?
Yeah, I guess.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
You're gonna try
You're
one. It's
getting one
Mary's.
now.
Oh look, Steph,
Then,
there's one for you.
Have you ever when you've been designing a space, Jody, has a client ever been like, I want to do this, and this, and it sounds super crazy, but then when you guys actually
Oh my.
put it together, it works, or vice versa, where you've said you want to
sure.
go do this and they're like real hesitant, and then they're like, oh, I love it.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
I do. People get stuck in their like rut, especially when they've been saving up for like 25 years. They did the kid thing. The kids are off going to college, and now they're finally like, oh, I've saved all this money. Now I'm ready, which has been huge since the pandemic. That's a lot of the people that I'm working with. But they get stuck in like what they've seen for the last 20 years. Right. And so if I'm coming in and even though they're paying me to tell them what to change, they're really hesitant on like the colors I pick or the style or the furniture arrangement. It could be any or all of those. And even when I show them and present them and, they're like, yeah. And then we get going in further and then they're like, no, maybe not. I was thinking about it. I talked to my sister and my mom and my friend and I don't know. They said I should do this instead. So yeah, I get a lot of that, a lot of it. And I have pushed on. Recently, I had a client who wanted to put shutters in, and I was like, you want shutters? But it turned out great. It looks good.
Yeah.
The shutters with the drapery, so we just layered it, and it turned out great. But I was super hesitant on, I was like, really? We want it open. I want to see light. This room's really dark. I don't know if we want to put shutters in. But it turned out great. So, yeah, I get it on both sides.
So what got you interested in doing what you're doing? What's the backstory?
The backstory on me being an interior designer. So it's something that I was always interested in as a kid. I'm a creative in general. So arts and, art, painting, drawing, sewing, creating has always been something I've done from before I can remember. And growing up, I was always kind of like, what could I do in the arts that I would actually make some money at? Because it wasn't going to be painting. But
so you were the girl in school who, when you opened the locker, it was all bedazzled and there was mirrors. I mean, were
pretty coordinated, like with my clothes back in the 80s.
I didn't have that back then.
What's
wrong with you? We got posters when I was in high school. Shut up.
I had posters.
You did that purposely to age me out, you jerk.
They had lockers when you were in your one
Shut
schoolroom
up.
house?
Yes. I hate you so much. I also had the first computer in my school. So there.
It took up
With the floppy disk?
it took up the whole room.
Huh?
Yeah.
Shut up, it did.
It took up the whole room.
I hate Kent, just in case anybody wants to know that.
Yeah, so it was just a matter of finding something that I was good at, that was creative, that I would actually be able to also make some money at.
That's awesome.
So interior design school came along later. I was already married and everything by the time I finally got up the nerve to pursue that dream. It was kind of something I felt was a little unattainable from my childhood. But once I got married, my husband was like, this is what you need
Go
to
get
do.
it. Yeah.
So I did. I went and got my interior design degree, and I did have the opportunity to stay home with my family, with my kids for about 10 years. And only within the last 4 years we moved back here from Pennsylvania, and I started the business. So
Nice. What part of Pennsylvania?
we were near Pittsburgh. We were in Cranberry Township.
Yeah, all right.
It's a small little.
Yeah. I got an uncle in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And of course, and we were talking about this in the green room. One of the misconceptions is, oh, you're good at creating things, so you're an interior. I mean, you have to go to school, take a test, get
Yeah.
licensed. I mean,
Yeah.
there's more to just throwing paint on a wall.
There is. There's a lot of continuing education, just
Yeah.
like with a lot of industries that you're always trying to keep up with. Like I just came back from the kitchen and bath industry show in Florida because there's stuff coming out like every 6 months.
Right.
New stuff, new things, new ways of doing different things along with trends. But yeah, so there's a lot of that, but I actually I have I have a BA in interior design. So I went to college and just specifically studied interior design. And within that is all of interior design. So with a lot of industries, you niche down, right? You have a broad spectrum and then you niche down into your specific lane.
Right.
And so I learned commercial and architecture and residential and all of aspects of design. Learning commercial is very different than residential. Kitchen and bath is very different than just coming in and redesigning someone's family room. So I learned about all of it and then decided which lane I wanted to go into. And for me, it was residential.
Nice.
But this very different. Hospitality is completely separate. Like all of those different niches are not the same, and all of the knowledge that you have to have for them is not the same.
Now this goes to all three of you because I know I already irritated Steph today as she was working with me.
You irritated me like 10 seconds ago.
Okay. Well, then good. But do you all like go over to somebody's house? I mean, is your mind always working for all three of you, right? So when you show up and you're like, "Ooh, well, this is interesting," decor or whatever, and do you go, "Oh, I could sell this house in a minute," or and Steph, you're like, "Would you just stop just wadding up your receipts?" I mean, you know what I mean? So I always think like a dentist. Anytime a dentist comes around, I always just want to cover my teeth, like, "Hey, how are you?" Because they're like, "Ooh, ooh."
We're judging.
Yeah.
Judging.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, there's definitely houses that are current in the trends, that are clean, that are well put together, that I know that it's going to sell in a second.
Yeah.
And then there are houses that you're like, this is going to be.
I love the smell of
Well,
cigarette and cat urine.
Yeah.
This
I
is
don't know.
great.
I thought one house that you sold, I thought it was going to be a minute or two, and it took you a day.
Yes. Well, was it this recent? Was it this market? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that
So,
doesn't
like,
count.
She's like,
That doesn't count. What happens is in this market, I could sell a shoebox and somebody would buy it. It's actually, somebody just posted a meme. It's actually one of the funniest memes I've seen. It was a dollhouse, one of those outside playhouses, and it said highest and best offer, current bid 300. Like 1,000. And it was like very funny. But so now you can buy anything, but especially because there are such great interior designers, you can have somebody the house's bones are good. I mean, we used to go in 4 years ago and we would say, you need to clean the carpets, you need to paint, you need to do this, you need to change the countertops, put in, frame your mirrors. We would say small things that would change and get you back lots of money in an upgrade. Now people are like, oh, well, what about caulking? What about cleaning my floors? Yeah, you don't have to do anything. Like you don't have to do anything
right now.
And it's just unfortunate for buyers because it makes it very, very hard. But for sellers, it saves them lots of money, lots and lots of money. People are not needing that now. So it just depends. It's the cycle of the real estate world.
If Dawn could find me somewhere to move to, since she took her basement off the list of options.
I did. My basement is not available.
Sold my house. She had a client that my house fit the description.
I did have somebody that would have probably paid her $60,000 over asking price for her house.
Yeah.
She had nowhere to go. And I said no to my basement.
Yeah.
Oh.
She's like, oh, I'm remodeling my basement. You can't move in.
That's right. And I'm remodeling it to not fit. This
Not
is for
fit
all of
you,
my friends and
not
family,
gonna fit people.
not for you.
That's it. Well, they have nice three-room tents now and stuff.
Oh, I have one
Oh,
with
see?
a changing station inside of it with a light and a
See,
fan.
there you go.
I mean, I have a nice tent.
Yeah.
Oh, for gosh.
Yeah.
What did
Arizona.
your mom say?
Arizona.
That's right. Oh, you want her to go out there?
Moved to Arizona.
Okay, bye, Steph.
It's a long
Mom's
drive.
got some space.
Long drive into the studio every week.
All right.
True. True.
Luckily, she can sign in through the
Would you
virtual.
just shush?
Do you have when you go to people's houses to play off of Kent's question?
Yes.
Just do people are like, oh well, can you just take a look in this room? Like, what do you think you would do differently in here?
Yes.
Or
Mhm.
oh, we were thinking about tweaking this. Like, do you think this
Mhm.
is like a thing?
I have, all the time. Of course, everyone wants to try and pick my brain, take my intellectual property.
That's it.
It's a constant. Yeah, I do. I have that a lot. But I mean, to his point, I do go into places and I try not to prejudge, but my family makes fun of me because we'll go into restaurants and, they have artwork and it's askew. I can't handle it. So like I have to sit with my back to it so I can't see it. Or like I walk by and like adjust it.
Oh,
because I
that's
can't.
hilarious.
So they'll point it out just to be jerks. They're like, "Hey, mom, look at that picture." Because I would like clean up it. I would go to a friend's house and they'd catch me like adjusting stuff. I would be like, and I wasn't thinking about it consciously. It was just a thing. Besides that, I'm a mom and you're constantly cleaning up after everyone else anyway. But then you add in the other part, and I would like start moving stuff, and they're like, "Are you cleaning my house?" I was like, "No,
Oh,
no."
no.
I would say yes. Yes, I am. Yes.
Are you moving my stuff? Rearranging?
I go to people's houses and I'm like, oh, you have dishes in the sink. I do dishes. Can I do your dishes?
Oh.
When my
That
mom
far.
comes in town, she rearranges my pantry. So like if I leave her home
Oh.
alone for like a couple hours,
I
and I
would
come
take
back
that.
Linda,
and she does that, and then one
in
time
April, why don't
I
you
would
come
do
hang
that.
out at my house? Just come
She could
see
come
my
after me,
updates.
too.
she like
Linda, come over.
I'll leave you the coat.
she'll redo the whole pantry. And
Do you do
then
closets,
She
Linda?
did. Yes. 'Cause
Yes, she
my
does.
clothes
She
are
does that
hung
too.
backwards.
Linda,
'cause
do
I'm
you want to
left-handed.
stay at my house when you're
According
here
to her.
next
I mean,
time?
they're not
You're
backwards.
coming in
Backwards,
soon,
got
Linda.
it.
Come stay at my house. I'm
Okay, so what do you
taking
mean
them
backwards? So like the buttons are facing to the right or to the left?
Mine face to the left.
All right, so my wife, my wife and three of my kids are all left-handed, so that's regular for me.
Yeah, well, my mom, like even when I was a kid and I would do the dishes and I would load the dishwasher backwards
Oh.
from being left-handed, and my mom would go in there and
Realign
flip
them.
the stuff around.
You know, my son is left-handed. I've never noticed is there a wrong way to load the dishwasher?
According to my mom, there is.
Well, but here's the most frustrating
What?
thing. The most frustrating thing to me
It's a
is
junior.
they use the wrong side of the knife for like peanut butter and butter.
What?
How
Well,
do you
they're
use the wrong
left-handed.
side
They're
of the
left-handed,
knife?
so it's on the wrong side for a right-hander. So just check it out. Watch.
I'm gonna look now.
What?
I'm
Yeah.
gonna look when I get home
The
now.
wrong side of the knife.
I don't even
Yeah.
understand that. But Linda has not answered whether she wants to stay with me in a few weeks when she's in town.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll come by and she'll take a
She
look
will.
at what you have going on. One time, my mom got bold enough and she rearranged Rich's spice cabinet.
Oh, listen, you don't touch somebody's tool cabinet and you don't touch
No.
Rich's spice cabinet.
She combined spices, but Rich doesn't put like the actual, like sometimes he'll make his own mix and just throw it in a container and it has a different label on it, and like my mom would have never known, and so she like merged like garlic with garlic or this with this, and then she's like, see, I condensed it, you had 3 open things of this, but it was like completely different like brands. And Rich was like looking at me and then looking at my mom, and then he went back downstairs on the computer. He didn't know what to do.
Oh my God. What did she said? I even have my water bottles labeled up. You
Yes.
do not.
Yes, she
Yeah.
does.
Well, I have a label gun and I have available
No,
cabinet.
when she
No.
puts them in, they're all
faces
labels facing out.
Facing
Oh, she does
out.
not.
Yes, in her fridge.
Oh,
When you
I
go to
can't
her
say
house in
anything about that.
Arizona, you'll see.
That's crazy.
I do do that.
I'm
Yes.
totally taking her at my house.
All
And
right.
nothing's allowed on the countertops.
So-
yes.
Here's to the real estate. Here's a question that comes in. Every house seems to have a flat surface that things get piled on,
What are you talking about?
right? So in my house, we're pilers.
Pilers.
What do you do to get rid of that?
When you're showing a house, or
No,
just in general?
just living.
Burn the
Living?
paperwork.
Go
Put
through the
it.
paperwork.
Go through it.
Throw it away.
Don't please listen. If you want to have a nice house, don't get those things on the wall where you can put mail.
Yeah.
Don't get those.
You don't do that.
Okay. Don't get that.
No.
And
They don't
countertops
work.
in your kitchen are not for your junk.
Yeah, they are.
So find a drawer in your kitchen, empty it out, and throw everything in there and just close the drawer.
But it overfills real quick.
Right.
And then once
then
a
the
month,
papers
you
out
have to
and-
purge it.
Don't
Yeah.
you notice, like, maybe this happens at your house, Kent, where the papers get so high in the drawer that they start falling
Off the
into
back.
the
Yeah,
into the back into the cabinet?
Now
Yeah.
I know
Well, that's when
why
you
your mom
purge.
cleans your house.
That's
No,
when
she
you
doesn't touch my
purge.
drawer.
Well, but maybe she needs
Just the
to.
pantry.
Linda says garbage can. Great invention.
Yeah.
It is right.
Yes.
Seriously,
Especially the one in the cabinet.
Yeah,
Right. Out of
you
sight.
have to, and here's what I do is you throw everything in a box and then you put the box in the basement and then eventually you go through it in a
Oh.
few years.
Why would you go through it in a few years?
Neat.
Just
Well,
throw it out.
because you have to clean out those for more room.
We still have Rich's college term papers in our basement in a
What?
box somewhere.
Why?
I don't know. He doesn't want to throw them away.
Why?
Why?
I think he felt like it was a really good moment for him.
Tell me to take a picture. Tell me to take a picture of it.
Scan it and put it into an email?
I scan my kids' artwork.
Yeah,
Derek-
a lot of people do that.
I
Derek
got-
says he knows an amazing professional organizer.
Oh, that's great.
Oh my gosh. Here, let me do this. You're listening to 21.6 The Net. This is In the Know with Steph and Joe. And of course, In the Know with Steph and Joe is brought to you through the financial support of our good friends over at Epic Media. When you are truly authentic,
my
there
God,
can
that's
be no
fantastic.
competitors.
I know.
With the continued growth of technology these days, it's essential that you have an effective internet marketing strategy in place for your business. Whether you need a custom website designed or help integrating your social media accounts to your business marketing program, contact us at epicmediainc.com. Truly the best. And if anybody needs an interior designer, who do they go to and how do they get in touch with you?
That's your cue to put
That
your
would be me.
phone number
My phone number,
or how you want them to
However you want them to
contact
contact.
www.jvanleardesigns.com.
jvanleardesigns.com.
How they contact you?
Oh, he didn't ask me. He doesn't care. They can reach me at 847.
Oh, you just got muted for. I'm sorry, your microphone went out. Try it again.
I know where you live. 847-456-6334 at bremerteam18@gmail.com or www.bremerteam.com.
And she is. And listen, when I say this, and I joke around with her a lot, top 1%.
Thank you.
She is literally the best. So,
Thank you.
there
Love
go.
you.
Hmm.
Now I can leave.
There you go. Well, you only have about 3 minutes.
I have 3 more minutes.
And then Steph Conley with Steph's Bookkeeping Service, 847-942-3004, or you can fill out our pricing calculator at stephsbooks.com.
I worked with Steph's bookkeeping today,
Oh, yeah.
and she almost fired me.
Kent became a client today.
Oh, he
Uh-oh.
did?
And she almost
Kind of,
fired me. Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't almost
She's like-
fire you. You just
she's
don't
like-
know your passwords to anything.
Okay, wait. But
Literally.
let's talk about another misconception, can we?
Yes.
I don't know any of my passwords.
Well,
I don't know any of them.
okay.
Not at all. I
Right.
can't figure them out. I write them down, then you try to get into
You
them,
call
and my
your
thumbprint
assistant
doesn't
every
work.
time
No,
I'm with you.
wait, my thumbprint doesn't work, and then it kicks you out. Then it tells you to reset your password, and then you reset it on your phone, and then you go to your computer, and it's not the same password. You don't know. So I just learned something about Google has a thing that saves your passwords. Did you know that?
Yes. Yes.
You
ma'am.
better be careful if you get hacked. Eric, are you still listening? You better
That's right.
call Dawn.
Use LastPass or something.
She's gonna
like
Yeah.
be be the next victim.
the
I
LastPass.
should
You can
text
have an
her.
app called LastPass.
Don't say that
literally-
on the radio station.
Literally, Steph.
But
was,
I have it password protected.
yeah, literally, Steph was like, "Yeah, it should only take about 5-10 minutes." And 30 minutes later, she's sitting here like, "What the hell's going?"
Yeah, make all these phone calls.
Because he didn't know any of his
I know.
password.
Yeah, no. And
I
he
know.
still had his former business partner's phone number linked to like, oh, well, let me send the code to
Yeah.
this phone
Oops.
number. And he's like, oh, well, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
And
Nope.
so,
Yeah,
We
Pete's
had to-
expired. Yeah,
yeah, well, you see, Eric is still listening and he sent you an angry face.
What did he say?
Oh,
I just
Mhm.
texted you help. Come see me.
yeah.
Shit.
Yeah,
My mom
last
says
pass.
same password. You'll never forget it. For
That's right.
everything.
One.
What did
So
she
when you
say?
get hacked,
The
they
same
get
password?
everything.
Only my mom. I just only use one password. I feel like this conversation is going that good since we're
Talk-
on air and there's like
Right.
thousands of people listening to this.
About how you don't have your
Talk
stuff
about-
protected.
Talk about IT misconceptions.
Eric, here you go. This is your time to shine.
Right?
You better drive over to the studio.
Right?
Oh my god. Now I throw up. Eric, I'll call you in 3 minutes when I leave.
Right.
Oh man.
So what's the difference between a designer, a decorator, and an organizer? Like
Wait,
you,
before she answers that, let me say goodbye
Yeah.
because that's
All
a
right.
detailed question. It
That
was
is
really
a
lovely
detail.
meeting you.
Thank you.
Goodbye, I love
All
you.
right, David.
Goodbye, I love
Be
you.
safe.
Goodbye, I love you.
bye, have fun.
Thank you.
Have fun. Bye. Bye.
She's got to go list a house.
Yeah. She's working.
Working. Always working.
Okay. Between a decorator, a designer, and an organizer. Well, organizers specifically only organize. That's it. That's
it.
pretty simple. They're going in and they're just like, probably your mom would be an amazing organizer.
Mhm.
She's gonna go in and
No, she's gonna throw
gut the
everybody's stuff out.
pantry.
That's what she's gonna do.
She's gonna gut the pantry, put it in a container, label it, and be done. Yeah, they're more so like helping you purge. It's the process of purging, helping you go through your stuff. Like, all those, what are there? Marie, say you love it, say goodbye and throw it away or whatever. That's the organizer, and that's specifically what they do, and only that. And then the difference between a decorator and an interior designer is really the schooling. Like a decorator, there are ways to get your degree or a certificate. So you can get your certificate online. You can take a class. You can get the certificate, and you can call yourself a decorator. You can just decide that you're good at it, and everyone in your family told you you're good at it, and then you can become a decorator. But to be able to call yourself an actual interior designer, it is a degree, and it is a test. We sit for a test just like a lawyer or a realtor or anything. You have, a couple hour test, you pay the money and you take this test and you get, your NCIDQ or your IIDA or your ASID after your name. And then you're an interior designer. Because if you watch any of the HGTV shows, they're not interior designers,
Right.
They're decorators.
Decorators.
And there's a specific reason why they're like Joanna Gaines is not an interior designer. She
Was
doesn't
that why
have a
they
degree.
like hot glue gun like pipe cleaners?
Well, that's
to
just because they're
lampshades?
jacked.
She's now she's now a mogul, is what she is.
She's done
yeah.
very well without that
Yes,
degree, but
yes.
yeah, but that's the difference, So there is something to be said, between the two. Somebody that just goes in and has an eye for it versus somebody who has a degree. Is in like architecture. If you're asking someone to tear down a wall, a decorator shouldn't be going in there and telling you, yeah, tear down this wall. It's no big deal. There's structure and all of that kind of thing, which is part of my degree. We learn about structure, about how a house is made, or load-bearing walls, all of those types of things. And I'm smart enough to know to call someone else and who knows more about it than I do, right? Because that's a whole other liability and all of that thing. But people think they can just tear down walls, add a beam. Okay, it's a $10,000 beam. You can't just add in a beam. So it there's a difference, Do you know enough to know what you don't know? And a lot of them don't. Yeah, well, I have an eye for it, so I'm going to make your house look really pretty. It's very different. It's very different.
Yeah. Hey, Ted, how you doing? Happy Friday. Yeah, because I guess for me, the biggest thing is a lot of small business owners kind of merge like the bookkeeping accounting department they'll merge bookkeeping and admin.
Oh, yeah.
And so like what we charge as bookkeepers, I mean, I've been bookkeeping for 19 years. I have an accounting degree. I have my pro advisor certificate from QuickBooks. So we have things and we do continuing education. And so I don't think you want to pay my rate for me to open your mail.
Right.
The same way you would pay an admin to do something like that. So I know that that's kind of a big thing with us where they just assume that it's all in one encompassing job role, but it's really multiple different job roles.
Yeah. That would be the other reason I charge a consultation fee, is that I'm not the same as like your Home Depot person or your, wherever you're going and they're giving you free advice. Like I've earned my knowledge, and up front in the beginning, it just helps to set the standard of like, why am I gonna, why are you different than so and so over at Home Depot? Well, you're getting a lot. First of all, you're getting personal customer service. There's a lot of other things that you're getting from me that you're not going to get from them. But that's part of it also, is that you're paying for all of the knowledge that I have from the beginning.
Well, this is a little bit like off topic, but with everything with the pandemic and how it's kind of shifted a lot of businesses or people's budgets or things like that. I know some of my clients that had a like a luxury product that they sold, their services skyrocket during the pandemic because everybody was sitting at home looking at things, wanting to change things, and they did really well. So it was really kind of weirdly opposite for them. But like, how was it for your space when you provide a service like
I would
that?
fall into that category, actually, oddly, really well. Because, there was a lull for a span, but like I had mentioned, I started my business literally in March of 19, just before the pandemic. So I was barely on my feet by the time the pandemic came through, and like everyone was shut down. So I was doing marketing and trying to get my foothold because I didn't know it would be in my area. So it's not like I had, like most designers have, lead generation coming from family or friends or community, the people that they know. And I didn't have that. So I was out networking and trying to do different networking events and stuff to get my name out there. And then the world shut down. So that wasn't an option. So, I took an internal check and, went in and got some more processes behind me for my business for when everything started back. And I also took a bit of a leap for me and started doing like lives. So going Facebook Live, going Instagram Live, and talking about different aspects, just using my home as an example, because we had just moved there. So there was a lot of things happening in my house, and there still is. If you go follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you'll see all the things that we're doing in our own home. So when I talk about it with my clients, it's not just because I'm making this pie in the sky suggestion. It's because I've probably actually already done it myself. Or in my home and all the multiple homes that we've had over life. And so it was actually really good. That pivot for me was really good because when everything opened up, like you said, everybody had been looking at the white cabinets or actually using their white kitchen that now is not white anymore and realized that was a really bad idea. It looked great when I didn't actually use my kitchen. And now that I'm using it, it looks like crud. So then they were like, oh, we need to fix this. Or we didn't go on vacation and we didn't do this. We didn't do this. Now I have this nest egg that I can now use in my home because now I realize all these things that aren't functioning for us and aren't working and are really old. And now we are ready to have somebody come in and professionally help us. So it actually was pretty good. Yeah.
And then so like if you came to my house and we sat down in the area and we're like, okay, we want to redo this space.
Yeah.
And then we come up with like the color scheme and the tchotchkes and whatever we're going to put in there.
Yeah.
Then do you recommend a set of people that you work with that will actually come in and do the painting and do the whatever stuff? I don't know, move a wall or whatever we're doing.
Yeah. So I am not what you'd call a full service designer in that I have my own team that I personally I don't have a team that is mine, where if you hire me, you're hiring all of these people as well. I like to support other small businesses. And so I've worked really hard to find people that are reliable contractors, because unfortunately they get a bad name. Contractors, plumbers, electricians, they get a bad name, some of them, and it gets forced across the board, which isn't always accurate. Especially for the small businesses that are working really hard, to grow their business. So I've collaborated with a painter, contractor, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and I have the guys that we work really well together. So we've sat down, we've had discussion on who's in charge of what, who's, what does the process look like as far as what are my expectations, what level of service are they going to give? Are they going to call back in a week? Are they going to call, are you going to give an estimate? What part of that estimate is yours versus what I quoted for my estimate? So generally, like, let's just say you came in and you said, I want to redo my kitchen and I have 60 to redo my kitchen. Great. So I'm going to give you my cost of budget, but I'm going to contact my contractor and say, okay, this is what their budget is. What can we do within your realm of that? And then we're picking parts and pieces based on that overall budget so that by the end, everything encompassed is within your 60. My fees, all of the pieces you're picking, their fees, all of their labor, all of that kind of thing. And that's kind of how I go about working with my clients on their projects. If there's other people involved, if it's just me, obviously I can handle what the selections I'm making to fit within that.
So, do you love IKEA?
Do I love IKEA? It has a place.
Well answered. Very well answered.
there are some good pieces there,
Yes.
and then there are some not so. So I think it has a place, and it depends on the stage. I think
budget, right?
Yeah, I think everybody deserves to have a beautiful home that fits their personality, whatever your budget is. Obviously, there's some realistic things, like we're not bubble gum taping things together. If you don't have the money, then you don't have it. So let's just wait.
Right.
But if you have a realistic number that can be attainable, I am not above, like, I ordered it from Wayfair. I went and got it at Target. I went and got it at IKEA. But the end result is still something beautiful. I think everyone deserves to have that. We work really hard to have our home, whatever. It's an apartment, a house, a trailer, whatever. Like, you deserve to have something that's beautiful when you come home from a hard day's work. So, yeah.
Got it. Okay. So for both of you, and Joe, if he was here, but he's not here, so we won't go with Joe. Triage. So we're in the world of DIY. We're in the world of, well, I can save a few bucks here. I'll do my own bookkeeping. You know what? I saw an episode of Chip and JoJo, and I can do this, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't work so well. So now you both have to come in and fix. Is that how frustrating is that? Or have you gone to places like, oh, I can't do anything here. You ruined it.
I mean, there's very few situations where I've come across where I'm like, you know what? Let's just start this file from scratch.
Mhm.
Let's open a new QuickBooks file. I'll just put some of this other information in. Like, there's very few times where that's happened. Usually if someone, they always have like a cousin for some reason that does bookkeeping. So if I give them my pricing and quote or whatever, and then they're like, oh, I'm gonna have my cousin do it, and then I say okay. And then if they come back, there's usually a different pricing structure for cleanup at that point because of the extra work that I know I'm gonna have to do to hunt and fish for those situations.
I get called in at the wrong time a lot. Like, they already planned all these things and then they called me and I'm like, yeah, that doesn't work.
Swing and a miss.
Yeah. So I, as nicely as I can, let them know that they need to change it. And so then that's just going to be a hit to the budget, right? I always say, call me in way before you think you should, because then I can keep you from wasting money. Yes, you're paying for my services, but what you're paying me is going to be way less than if you buy a sofa that doesn't fit in your house and they do have a 25% restock fee because it didn't fit or doesn't look right or doesn't work.
That's what happened to our basement couch in our townhome.
Is that right?
It happens a lot.
It was very weird.
Yeah. I don't.
We just pulled it away from the wall a little bit more.
But
I recently had someone that came in and they had already purchased and like they wanted to redo their bath, their powder room, but they called me in at the end for paint colors, only in that they had already purchased a vanity, lights, tile, all this stuff, but she wanted a toilet moved. And this was something where I don't even know if the toilet could be moved because she hadn't looked. Like, you have joists running a certain direction, can only pitch a toilet so far, there has to be clearance. Like, all these things that she didn't have a clue about, but she had already purchased all of this stuff. And so I could have had to come back. Luckily, it's not going this way, but I could have gone back and said, you can't do that, period. Like, you can't move the toilet. She would have been stuck because she waited. Like, I was at the end of her process. She had already done way more. Luckily, the plumber can fix it and can move the toilet, but don't call me after you've already done all of that and then ask for something major like plumbing. That's way too late.
I discovered I'm better at demo. That I could. So my husband came home from work once and we took the floor. I took the floors out of the house and he came home and there was no
floor.
No.
Yeah.
Nice.
because I smelled pee and I didn't know where it was coming from, so I ripped all the floor out.
Nice.
And so he came home. Yeah, so he's like opening. He worked late. He's opening the garage door. I have vinyl chunks of tile because I used a hot gun and a heat. Well, I used a heat gun and a screwdriver to pop the vinyl. And so he came into he like opened up the garage, and I'm have this garbage bag stuck to me, and pieces of tile are like stuck to my face and arm, and I like fear froze when he opened the garage door. But yeah, so we had to go floor shopping the next day.
So
now your floors are sticky.
Yeah.
No, Liz
base
was in our
isn't
townhouse,
sticky?
so we don't live there
Okay.
anymore. But no, it was fine. Everything
Okay.
came out pretty good.
So you live with 3 guys, and you can't figure out where the pee's coming from.
Well, it was back when we had our dogs were puppies.
Oh, okay.
And like so when we were potty training, and like it was by the front door, and when the sun would come in the window, like it was the underlayment that would.
Gotcha.
But I guess I was the only one that smelt it. I don't know.
Gotcha.
That's not.
So yeah, so that's kind of what
There you go.
All right. So
project?
what is your favorite room to design for people?
What is my favorite room? Gosh, I don't know.
Did you have a lot of weird requests when the 50 Shades of Grey movies were coming out?
No, because I wasn't doing. I was not. Nope. I wasn't doing design work then. So.
I guess
that was before your business.
It was before. It was before. I can imagine, but no. My favorite room. I don't know. They all have like such good challenges depending on the project. I really like doing powder rooms because they're small and you're able to kind of put extra in them because you can go fancier because there's less square footage generally, and do something like I'd like to make them fancier because that's where all of your guests are going. If they're coming over to your house and the one space they're going to use is going to be that room, like most likely somebody's going to have them in the bathroom. And so if you're going to put like anything extra, you could go with the fancier tile in there because you've got like small square footage. If you're going to wallpaper, smaller square footage. If you want a fancy vanity, it's a smaller vanity, that kind of thing. So I feel like that is one place where you can kind of go a little extra and it isn't going to break the bank because it's small and everyone will see it. So if you wanted to like show off, that would be a spot where everyone's going to see it. So versus some other places, like, doing that kind of tile work in your bathroom no one else sees it but you and it's going to cost you. So.
Is there like a territory or radius that you like to stay within for client work?
Yes and no. I mean, I'm based out of Gurnee, but I've also gone and done a consult in Union, which is not close. I have one in Glenview, also not very close, but it just depends on the scope of the project. I like to stay within a half-hour driving radius, but I'm not 100. I have recently have other designer friends that I went to college with that I stay connected with. And if they're closer to that area, sometimes I'll recommend over because I know they'll do good work for them as well. But so it just depends. It depends. I like to stay within like half an hour-ish, 45 minutes. I do have clients in Lake Zurich. I've had some in McHenry area. So it just kind of depends.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah.
Of course, we're getting back to the back side of this, and Epic Media Inc. has done a great job again, helping us out and sponsoring us a little bit there, which is fantastic. And if you need anything to do with, I don't know, digital technology, marketing, Facebook stuff, websites, the whole work, check them out at epicmediainc.com. They'll help you out there. One more time, just let people know where they can get in touch with you because they're going to want to spend money with you.
It's at Jamie Van Leer Designs, either on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, or at my website.
VAN
LEER.
Awesome. Yeah, we don't know where Joe is either.
Joe is at a Restoration One convention with doing continuing education with his team.
Yeah. So so hopefully he brings back good gifts for us.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
We'll see.
And Steph, if anybody needs bookkeeping help, you can be reached at
847-942-3004, or they can go to our pricing calculator at stephsbooks.com And then I guess we could give Joe a read. So Restoration 1, water, fire, mold damage, 847-264-4664.
That is awesome. Any last words as we're rolling out here in the last 2 minutes?
I guess, well, thank you so much for coming
Yeah,
on the show
thanks
because
for
it was
having
very
me.
last minute.
It's all good.
But yeah, hopefully a lot of people see this and give Jody a call and get them remodels done. Otherwise, you'll have a bedroom like mine where it's half purple and half brown because I never finished painting it because I picked up the wrong paint color. I thought it was gray. True story.
I guess
Still
some
haven't
of
fixed
those
it.
do. I guess some of those is okay.
And you're not colorblind, is that correct?
I am not
We're good.
colorblind.
So we're
I
good.
see all the colors.
That's it. All right. For all of us here at 216 The Net, thanks for getting caught in the net with us. This has been another great episode of In the Know with Steph and Joe. For all of us here, enjoy Friday evening. Come back tomorrow morning because we have Metaphysical Meanderings and a brand new episode of Living Low Sodium with Mary Shep. Great muffin things that she made there as well. So for all of us here at 216 The Net, enjoy the evening. Be good and be good to each other.